Hello, and welcome to Inside the Wellspace. I'm your host, Cathy O'Brien, and today I am so excited to welcome again, for her second time with us, Dr. Chiti Parikh, who is a true pioneer in integrative medicine. As a reminder, she is the co-founder and executive director of the Integrative Health and Wellbeing program at Weill Cornell Medicine and NewYork-Presbyterian Hospital. Dr. Parikh is redefining healthcare by blending the best of Western science with the time-honored wisdom of Eastern traditions. From her early roots in India and a solo spiritual journey through Southeast Asia to building one of the country's leading integrative health centers, Dr. Parikh brings a holistic approach to healing that treats the body, the mind, and the spirit. She's board certified in both internal and integrative medicine. She's trained in functional medicine, acupuncture, and Ayurveda, and her work has been featured everywhere from the Dr. Oz Show to the New York Times. Get ready for another powerful conversation about bridging the gap between ancient practices and modern medicine and how we can all take a more mindful approach to our own well-being. Hi again.
So happy to be back.
So happy to be back. And just in our moments aside from, jumping into this, we found another topic.
Yes.
Which we're going to be talking about at a later date around skin and diagnostics and meridians and how everything from inside literally shows up on your face.
Exactly.
And your body, not just your face. It's so fascinating to me. But today, our topic is hormones.
Yeah.
And the connection between the gut and the metabolism and your microbiome. And this stemmed from, you and I were on a panel together last year, and we asked the women who were in the audience what they wanted to know about. Literally hands went up and said hormones.
Yes.
Right? So first, before we get into the whole sort of dynamicism of hormones, I want to tee up the fact that of our sort of health and well-being, 20% of that is our genetics.
Yes.
And 80% of that is our environment / the choices we make, right? So with that in mind as like our umbrella, knowing that hormones rule, we have more control than we may really even think about our own health and well-being, right?
Far more than we are taught, right? Because it's genetics, yes, but there's something called epigenetics, which basically means epigenetics are all the external environmental factors, our diet, lifestyle, stress level, everything that decides which genes that we have from our parents are actually turned on or off.
Interesting.
Yes.
So you might have a genetic predisposition and it might not even be activated.
No.
Fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's not set in stone by any means. We still control majority of our health destiny.
And you might also not have a genetic predisposition to something and then, for example, get breast cancer, even though there's no family history or no genetics.
Because it's the external factors determining which genes are turned on and off.
It is just so fascinating to me. Okay, and to all of us, I'm sure, but what is a great sort of headline for us to be thinking about right now is 20/80, I have 80% control. Those are really good odds.
Yes.
So going into it is fantastic. And so let's talk then about hormones. And is it true that hormones are really in charge and they are our driving force?
They are, especially for women.
Okay. Hormones
are these little chemical messengers, right? It's the way our body communicates to each other in the sense that we also, you and I, but also internally. So if my ovaries want to send a message to the brain, say, hey, period's coming, how about some PMS? How about some cravings for sugar cookies, right? Like, how does it talk to other cells?
Right.
So hormones are these little chemical messengers. They're going around letting the whole body know this is what's going on. Right? This is the most updated picture. This is what we're supposed to do.
So it prepares your body? Is that what it does?
Yes.
So it's saying to the rest of the infrastructure, heads up.
This is what's going to happen, this is what's happening. This is what allows our body to be resilient because it's sort of an up-to-date picture, right? So the rest of the body gets on the same program and says, this is what's going on. This is how I need to respond.
Yeah. And it's interesting because for us, you mentioned sort of the cycle of how it regulates, right?
Yes.
What does that actually mean for us? Are we literally different daily? Is it a weekly thing? Is it what is it that we should be paying attention to?
Yeah. So for women, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all these sex hormones are very dominant at different times in our lives, right? So starting from puberty to 30 plus years when we're menstruating, to perimenopause, to menopause, the combination of these hormones is constantly changing, right? So that's the big picture. Every decade of our life, the balance between these hormones is dramatically different.
Right.
So what does that mean? It's going to affect my metabolism, my mood, my gut microbiome, my immune system. Every single thing gets influenced by our hormone levels.
Right.
So it's going to change. So in my college years, I would eat pizza and knock off like a few frappuccinos a day. Nothing would happen, right? Can I do that now? No. Right? Why? My metabolism is very different because my hormones are different.
Right.
So I spend a lot of time, especially with my female patients, educating them that our bodies are changing. Every decade marks a significant dramatic change.
Yeah.
So that's the big picture. The smaller picture, the day-to-day picture. If you think about when you're menstruating, 28 days is your cycle.
Right.
That's sort of the normal cycle, right?
Yep.
Your hormone numbers are dramatically different. So if I was to check your blood test every single day out of the 28 days, it'll be very different.
Right.
So every day we're different, but a simpler way to look at it is first half of the cycle and the second half of the cycle.
Okay.
So something we call follicular luteal phase. So in medicine, we draw a very clear line between the first half of the cycle and the second half. The first half is very estrogen dominant.
Okay.
Estrogen is the fountain of youth. Right? And what makes us feel great, right? We are not bloated, our
we are not pregnant.
Not pregnant. Our metabolism is kicking. Whatever we're eating, we're able to digest. Our skin looks great. More energy, better mood. When we're exercising, we're seeing those results.
Amazing.
We feel great.
Got it.
Ovulation happens. And then the second half of the cycle, where progesterone becomes more dominant.
Isn't it? Okay, keep going.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's when we start feeling a little bloated. A few skin zits are happening. Breasts are sore. You're feeling more irritable. And also, you're not sleeping that great. You're getting more of these sugar cravings. That PMS feelings start to come in.
Yeah.
So studies have shown that our brain is full of estrogen receptors, hormone receptors. So when the estrogen level goes up or down will directly affect our memory, our cognition, our mood.
For God's sake. So menopause is like a crusher. Okay, we don't need to go there yet, but keep going because there's like no estrogen.
So it makes sense that my mood is going to be different throughout those 28 days. It's going to change.
Yeah.
My food cravings, my metabolism, my energy level, my sleep.
Yeah.
We're never taught that.
No, not at all.
We
Never.
label this as a disease.
Yeah.
We say, you have PMS, you have PMDD. Yes, those are severe conditions.
Right.
But we need to understand our hormones better.
Right, because that has like a negative connotation. And it's not. It's just,
not.
This is physicality. This is how we're made up.
Yes.
Right? I mean, well, the thing too, I'm just going to jump back to it for one quick second, which is the research done on the male and female body. So different, right? Because the male cycle you mentioned is a quick one, right? It's a 24-hour cycle.
It's simple,
Right.
right? Not much changes.
Right.
Some variation decade to decade, yes.
Right.
But I'll throw in another kicker.
Please.
Women also go through dramatic hormonal life events that men do not.
Right.
Right? Starting from puberty. It's not just puberty. It's not just growing some hair, right? It's starting to get your period.
Yeah.
What your body has to go through to initiate those periods.
Yeah. It's exhausting.
It's not just having periods. That basically is telling you your body's getting ready to be pregnant.
Yeah.
It's no small feat.
Not at all.
Right? It's not just a voice change or a few extra hair.
No.
It's a dramatic hormonal life event.
Totally.
Then you get pregnant.
Yes.
Pregnancy itself is a hormonal life event.
Yes, it is.
Then postpartum is breastfeeding.
So real, all of it. Yes, it is. And you feel it. I mean, didn't you feel like, I felt like another, I can't even explain it. When I was pregnant with my first baby, just like, I felt like my body was another, it wasn't my body anymore.
It's like out of body.
Right? You're like a host. And I'm like, oh, that's happening. I don't even know what to say about that. It's wild experience.
And what happens is these things are not just an aberration from your baseline and coming back to baseline.
No.
Your body, every cell in your body is rewired.
Huh.
And studies are showing that.
Really?
Actually, a study that just came out this week that I saw.
Ooh, what?
They looked at, I think, 300,000 women.
Okay.
And pregnancy and postpartum up to a year.
Okay.
They measure different blood tests. And they check the levels of different immune markers, inflammatory markers throughout the postpartum period for a year. They found that majority of the markers, almost half of them, still did not return to baseline after 1 year post-pregnancy.
Yeah. It takes a while.
So this idea of snapping back, nothing's snapping back anytime
Get
soon.
over it. That doesn't exist. That's not a thing.
Because your body is literally rewiring itself.
Yeah.
Your threshold, this is really beautiful. I was reading about in Ayurveda, what they tell you, what happens in pregnancy and postpartum.
What do they tell you?
They say that your threshold for how you experience every emotion, every life experience, your senses, everything is setting a different sort of benchmark now. So what triggered an emotional response in me of joy or sadness or guilt, that threshold completely changed now.
You mean pre-pregnancy or pre-childbirth? It's all, that's Ayurveda is saying that.
Saying
okay.
You're not going back to normal. How you
it's over.
experience every single emotion, to even how you hear, how you see, how you smell
Sensorially.
is now permanently changed.
I get that. Don't you get that though?
Yes, which makes perfect sense to me.
It makes perfect sense, because how could you ever go back to something when things have completely changed, especially physiologically for you? Exactly. But it's not just the physiological piece, it's the emotional piece. It's all of it.
It's all of it.
Yeah.
It's change. So that's why I always say these hormonal life events, from puberty to childbirth to any pregnancy to perimenopause, menopause, you're not doing this.
No.
You are doing this.
You're graduating almost, or evolving. You're evolving.
It's refining itself.
It's refining.
It really,
It's
based on your
changing.
life experiences, it's perfecting it. We're not aging. We're perfecting ourselves.
God, I love that. That is a great thought and statement. You know, I had these, you know how you have like these little memory moments in your life where certain things happen. And I had this moment. I had raised my kids in a house, and I sold the house right as COVID was happening, because the kids were gone and it was, made no sense to be there, whatever. And I sold it, and we moved back into the city, and we were all living our lives, doing this new thing. And I had this like realization, actually, that had been a chapter.
Yeah.
I thought while I was in it, and I thought when I was going into it, that it was for the forever.
Yeah.
It was the everything and the forever. And then it was over. And I thought, oh, I guess it's just, life is just a series of chapters. It was, and I mean, I should have gotten that a long time ago, but that was the moment that I realized it. So this is sort of sounding like that, which is your body is your body, but it's not stasis. It's like constant evolution and growth and change.
Yes. This is ultimate intelligence,
I
right?
love that.
We talk about AI, right?
Yeah.
It's learning constantly.
Yeah.
Our body is the most intelligent being, right? Every cell is beaming with intelligence. So as much as we're aging, we're simply perfecting the art of life. Every experience that we're exposed to is making us better.
God, that's gorgeous. Beaming.
Yes.
Beaming with, what did you say? Beaming with intelligence.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful to think, like, if you think of your body, you're like, God, I love you, body. You're awesome.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's cool.
And that's what we need to learn. That's what we need to be taught when we talk about hormones for women.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like we've stigmatized every hormonal chapter in our life.
Yes. It's like, oh, you're so hormonal.
Puberty. I mean, a lot of cultures, like in Indian culture, like a lot of cultures look at menstruation as something dirty, right? And so it's like from a very young age, we are led to believe that any of these hormonal changes are negative.
Right. But they're really like, where would we be without them?
The world wouldn't
exist. It wouldn't exist.
It would not exist without it.
Yeah.
So I think if we encourage people, educate people to understand what hormones really are, I think we would appreciate the power of those.
Yeah.
What it's doing to us, rather than vilifying it and saying I want to fight my hormones.
No, we have to embrace them and love them.
We have to embrace them. We have to appreciate them and say, you are the vessel. You are the way I'm perfecting my body.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is the whole idea of aging and growth and hormones. And, we use this word, it's like an umbrella word, hormones, right? And there's, like you said, so much goes into it. It's progesterone, it's estrogen, et cetera. And, we spend our lives trying to manage it with things like birth control. And then after menopause or during menopause, hormone replacement therapy. Can you said some super interesting things about just so we're aware, birth control and hormone replacement therapy, that hormone replacement therapy is specific and is dosed at different levels, yet birth control, there's one level of birth control?
It's essentially so. Like if you think about pretty much any gynecological issue, right? Periods are coming too frequently, periods are not coming frequently, they're too heavy, too light, too painful, like anything.
Yep.
The treatment is birth control.
Right.
Is there any other condition? Like do I give you the same medicine whether you have high blood pressure or low blood pressure? Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So how are we treating all of these seemingly very different, opposite problems with one solution?
Right.
The solution being hormones have a cycle. They have a cyclical nature, right? Hormones by itself do not really signal anything. It's the change in hormone levels that send a signal to the body.
Got it.
So the way the birth control works is I'm giving you a steady amount of hormones all day long, so there's no signaling.
Got it.
Right? That's what we're doing. So I always tell my patients, like, if I was a company that's making birth control, the worst thing that can happen to me is getting sued if someone takes birth control and gets pregnant.
Right. Yep.
So I could have a 13-year-old girl who just got her periods, very heavy periods, put on birth control.
Yep.
Or I could have a perimenopausal woman in her 50s being put on birth control.
Right.
The reason why they're putting on birth control are very, very different.
Right.
Their bodies might be completely different.
Right.
Right? One person's going to be 200 pounds, the other person could be 90 pounds.
Right. But it's the same level.
Same. Yes.
Mind-boggling to me.
Every other medication, even over-the-counter medications, Tylenol comes in different strengths, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Birth control is birth control.
Yes.
Now it's rebranding when they say low dose, It's just rebranding.
But
right?
it's not. It's
really
not.
not. And no wonder it has such a profound impact on your body. Because remember, every single cell in your body has hormone receptors. So when you're taking that birth control, right? It is going to have an impact on every single cell in your body. There's a study that came out talking about hormones and gut.
Yes.
Birth control actually alters the gut microbiome.
In what way?
So it causes decrease in diversity and slight increase some of the more inflammatory bacteria.
Oh, that's not good.
Because it's a much higher dose of hormones, more consistent dose of hormones our body's experiencing, what our gut does is increases the amount of bacteria that normally process these hormones.
Okay.
And depending on our diet, these could be inflammatory or non-inflammatory bacteria.
And it all depends on diet.
Yeah.
And how would you even know?
How would you even know?
Right.
So we are told that hormones control us, right?
Right.
It's not true. We actually control the hormones. We're just never told how to.
Right.
So that connection between the gut microbiome and hormones is a perfect example of how I eat every single day.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to affect my gut microbiome and affect how my body manages hormones. So this is how it's all intersecting.
And how it's controllable. And how
within our control.
Right? Because if you're feeling a certain way, if you know what's coming, if you understand your cycle, you know you're on birth control. Like you've got all your tangible factoids, right? That you can say, all right, I know that if I do X, I will feel better. I know that if I do Y, I will not cause inflammation in my gut.
Yeah, and Eastern medicine actually teaches you that.
It does.
It says that first half of the cycle, your digestion is very strong. So you can eat more caloric, foods and digest them no problem.
Right.
As you get closer to your period, your digestion weakens.
Interesting, because your body's busy focusing on all these other things.
Your body has to shed this whole lining in the uterus.
Right. It's a lot of work.
Lose a lot of blood. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, you do lose a lot of blood.
Right?
Yes.
And you feel tired. You feel exhausted.
Yes, you do.
And then you still have to go to work.
Yep.
You're still trying to work out like you normally do, right?
Yep. Trying to be normal, which it's not, because you're at a deficit. You're operating at a deficit.
In Eastern medicine, the time when you have your period, it's a time of rest.
I love
You're supposed to eat very simple food. It's almost like when you're sick.
Yeah.
When you're sick, you don't crave a steak.
No.
Right? You're not eating a tub of ice cream.
No.
You want soup.
Yeah, you do.
So think about when your period comes, that's the state where your body is in.
Yeah.
So it's so beautiful. Eastern medicine recognizes that and says, that's your yin time.
That's your yin time.
In the 28 days, there's 3 weeks of yang, there's 1 week of yin.
And take it. Use it. Use the yin.
We don't change our lifestyle, our diet
Nope.
to reflect our hormonal changes.
Not at all.
That's when the friction comes in. Yeah. That's when the fatigue, the bloating, the mood symptoms, all of that piles every month. That's that sponge is just soaking it up every single month.
Yeah. Yes. And you talked about the key is being listening to your body. And then you also mentioned environmental, you talked about diet, sleep, stress levels, but you also talked about environmental toxins, which can be triggering.
So when it comes to the pillars of well-being that I always talk about, which are sleep, nutrition, exercise, and mind-body connection, or managing your stress, right?
Yep.
And the fifth one I always add when it comes to hormones and the gut are the environmental toxins.
Yeah.
So these things weren't around thousands of years ago. So we don't talk about that. We don't talk about BPA in Ayurveda.
Right? See, that's something else you talk, and xenoestrogen. Like, what are these things? Because they're real now.
They're real. Yeah. And there's billions of pounds of these chemicals that are dumped into our environment that we are breathing, we're drinking, we're eating, we're touching.
Yeah.
So what happens is these chemicals, they trick our body. Yeah. So chemicals, for example, BPA. So if you look at the chemical
plastic,
structure,
right?
It's plastic. Okay. It's in a lot of the plastic things. The plastic is everywhere.
Everywhere.
Right?
Ugh.
And I didn't know this, but I now that I know this, I have to tell everyone. One of the highest sources of BPA is actually receipts from the grocery stores.
What?
That glossy finish on the grocery store receipts has one of the highest levels of BPA.
No way.
So I never touch my grocery receipts.
Just don't even get a receipt.
I don't need it.
Don't get a receipt. Yeah.
But it's like we're exposed to it
everywhere, and we don't even know it. And we're absorbing it. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So I always say if you put something on your skin, it's as good as putting it in your mouth.
Yes.
It's going inside. It's actually worse.
Because our poor little skin absorbs everything.
Everything. When you eat something, things actually go through the liver. The liver is a little cleanser, right?
Yep.
But when you put something on the skin, it bypasses the liver. It's actually worse.
Oh, God.
So this is why I add this huge fifth pillar when it comes to hormone health and gut health is this environmental toxin.
Yep.
Because, Cathy, I have so many of my patients who come to me, they have perfect diet. They're doing the right thing. They're sleeping well, exercising.
Yep.
Yet, they get breast cancer.
Hello. That would be me. I know.
They have fertility issues.
Totally.
Right? And hormonal issues.
Yes.
And they are driving themselves insane thinking, what did I do wrong?
Yeah. Well, of course, right? Because we want to blame ourselves.
Because
there's something in my is it in my control?
I ate 10 years ago.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I talked to my surgeon about that, actually, who's great. Her name is Elisa Port. She's fantastic. And I said that too. I was like, what could it be? You know, because Holly, my doctor, I'm always healthy. Great blood work. I exercise. I meditate. I mean, I do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yet there it was. And so again, with the toxins, there are these toxins that are everywhere and the stressors that are
the emotional, spiritual toxins and then environmental.
Yeah.
Right. So
totally.
I put a lot of that together. I'm like, something is slowing us down.
What is xenoestrogen?
So xenoestrogens, talk about BPA, perfect example.
Yeah.
You take the BPA molecule, if you look at it, it looks very similar to estrogen. So when I'm touching those receipts, drinking out of plastic bottles, putting on certain types of makeups and lotions, right? All of that's getting into my body.
Yep.
And now these receptors, estrogen receptors, are waiting for estrogen. But instead of estrogen comes BPA. And it says, well, close enough.
Looks like it. Looks the
like
same.
It, smells like it. Like bind, right?
Right.
So now all of a sudden my body's behaving as if I'm getting all these extra estrogen.
Right. But you're really not.
You're really not.
No.
And it's overwhelming your body's capacity to remove extra estrogen. The double whammy comes. So one of the biggest ways your body can remove extra estrogen is your gut microbiome.
Oh.
That's your little helper. All the trillions of bacteria in your gut actually neutralize the estrogen, extra estrogen, and eliminate it.
Got it. So it's supposed to be a tag team.
It's a tag team.
But it's not if it's compromised.
No. But if my gut microbiome is taking a hit because I'm taking a lot of antibiotics, I'm not eating well, right?
Right.
And on top of that, I'm exposed to all these toxins.
Yeah.
Guess what? It builds up.
Yeah.
So now my body's thinking all these extra estrogens coming through. So increase your risk of breast cancer.
Right.
Girls are hitting puberty, getting their period at age 8 or 9 now.
Holy mackerel.
Versus in their teen years.
And that's, I mean, back in my day, it was like 14 years old, 13, 14 years old.
Yeah. My grandma's time, it was 16, 17.
Yeah, which makes sense. So, wow. So these poor girls are getting affected by all of these unseen toxins that are everywhere.
Yeah. So genes did not change in the last 100 years. But why did my grandma have her period when she was 16?
Yeah.
I had it when I was 13.
Yeah.
And
now it's
8, 9.
That's awful.
So think about what that does to the child's mind. You're a child when you're 8 or 9. Now all of a sudden you're exposed to all these high levels of hormones and going through all these physical, emotional changes. How do you cope with that?
How do you cope with that? And then even thinking about the concept of pregnancy, like, of course, it's going to come up. Why is my body doing this? Oh, it's preparing your body to have a baby. I mean, and this is a child you're talking to.
It's so much. And now let's fast forward. So, okay, you're not 8 or 9 years old. You're in your 30s, right? You're trying to get pregnant.
Right.
And fertility issues. Why?
Why?
The environment that we live in is suppressing. So a lot of these xenoestrogens, a lot of these chemicals actually suppress. It actually reduces our egg quality, suppresses ovulation. And there's so many factors that affect our fertility. It's not just a one hit. It's like we're getting hit by all different directions.
We really are. We really are constantly. And it feels like a lot of pressure imposed on us to try to do good and try and be healthy. Am I eating right? Am I doing enough exercise? Am I doing this? Am I doing that?
It must be the supplement that you're not taking.
Right.
That's what, when you go online, like that's what you're being told. Oh, it's this superfood you're not eating. Or the supplement's going to fix the fertility. It's a much bigger picture.
It sounds it. And it's really, it's starting far back. It's bigger. We are the recipients of a cultural change, basically, in toxicity.
Yes.
And here we are with these bodies that are the same old bodies.
Yeah.
So we need to be educated and equipped with knowledge about, okay, I get that there are toxins that I don't even know exist.
Yes.
What can I do to mitigate this?
There's a lot we can do.
What?
So simple things. So a lot of people drink out of plastic bottles, right? So we talked about giving up plastic bottles.
Yep.
How long does it take for your body's BPA level to go down?
Yeah, that's right. Because I'm done with, after my breast cancer stuff, I'm like done with plastic.
So 3 days, within 3 days of switching from plastic to glass water bottle, when studies showed a 60% reduction in BPA levels.
That's awesome.
Right? So we don't have to feel guilty if we've been doing some of these things and say, oh my God, what did I do to myself?
Yeah, I know, right?
Body's very resilient.
Yeah.
Within a few days, you can notice that change.
Okay.
Right? Even your gut microbiome. We had talked about that study, right?
Yes.
This is fascinating.
Okay, let's hear it.
So this study actually was done at Cleveland Clinic. They took a group of vegans and they said, we're going to give you, meat, egg and potatoes, and all these foods that you're normally, not eating, sausages and eggs. And they noticed within 7 days, they started producing something called TMAO.
Okay.
TMAO is a level in your blood that you can actually measure.
Okay.
We know that increases the risk of heart disease.
Fascinating. So it's inflammatory, right?
It's very inflammatory, hyper-inflammatory.
Wow.
So vegans typically have a very low to almost zero level of it.
Yeah.
What happens is the protein from meat and eggs, if you have bad bacteria in your gut, they take these proteins from meat and eggs and turn it into TMAO.
Okay.
Which is inflammatory.
Okay.
So what happened was when the vegans started eating these things, the TMAO levels, which is almost non-existent, started to creep up within 7 days. And also the reverse, when you give up these foods, very quickly some of these levels can start going down.
Right. So there's control again. We're back to the control thing.
So it's not like if you go on a vegan diet or a plant-based diet, I'm not even saying aiming for perfection.
No.
Every incremental change, positive change in your diet will have a positive change in your gut microbiome, in your hormones. We're talking days. We're not talking years.
Right.
Right?
Yep. And it's sustainable.
That's how it's sustainable.
It's sustainable because the body really is resilient, isn't it? Yeah. So you can have an illness and have a sickness and come back from it.
You're the perfect example of it, right? Within a year, look at you,
I know.
right? Like
it's amazing.
It's amazing how much our body can go through and how that's what I say. We're not aging, we're perfecting.
Yeah, it's kind of an exercise, I have to be honest. So my friend is staying with me right now. She's one of my oldest and dearest friends and spent a lot of time with me last year during my shenanigans and we'd sit on the couch and whatever, and we were doing it again last night. We were talking, had a glass of wine, and we were both just saying, wow, what a difference a year makes in a body, but it's the yin thing that you and I were talking about. It's the yinning. It's the sleeping, it's the listening to your body, it's the awareness. And sometimes, and maybe it's a Western cultural thing, is we are reactive, aren't we? We're not proactive. We're used to being like, oh, I'm going to deal with it when it's a problem.
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. And one of the common questions I often get, especially when we talk about environmental toxins, it can be very overwhelming.
Yes.
It's literally everything we touch. It's like, oh my God, this is going to give me cancer. So it can be very, very overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, your body's incredibly intelligent, right? Yes, it was never exposed to BPA and it's not evolved to do so, but it can figure out how to handle it very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So at every point in human civilizations in the past, we're exposed to different challenges, environmental challenges. We had starvation, we had extreme cold, extreme heat, infections you couldn't even think about that kill people.
True.
Right?
Yep.
We're still here.
Yeah.
We evolved
Yeah.
all those adversities, right?
Yep.
To perfect ourselves.
Yeah.
To be here. Our body can handle the BPA, every single toxin that's out there.
Right.
If we take good care of ourselves.
Right.
That's why the gut-hormone connection, the gut microbiome is so strong.
So what can we do? What are the tangible things we can do to bolster our gut microbiome on a regular basis?
Number one thing is diversity in your diet.
Oh, that's good to know.
So people always emphasize the healthy diet or, it does not mean you're going to eat kale and grilled chicken every single day.
Yeah.
I always emphasize diversity.
Yeah.
And it can also mean a donut once in a while. That's not a problem because your body needs those challenges to be able to be resilient, right? You cannot just live in a bubble.
No, and
that's not the solution.
Boring too, by the way.
It's boring. It's not.
It's dull.
Let's just be real. It's not going to last.
It's not going to last.
It's just not going to work.
No.
So why even set ourselves that expectation? You don't need to.
No.
Your body needs these challenges, right?
Yep.
But we have to give it some space to perfect it, right? So with diet, I always talk about diversity in the sense you don't just eat rice every day. Like diversify your whole grains, vegetables, fruits, different spices, nuts, seeds, right? Diversify it. So it also makes things interesting. So instead of more of a restrictive mindset, I cannot eat that cookie. I'm not going to eat that.
Right.
Instead, well, I've never had this vegetable. You go to your local grocery and like, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what it is. Let me Google it. Let me find a recipe that uses this fruit or this vegetable. Or I've never cooked with coconut flour. Let me try to make what I normally do with coconut. So be innovative. Make food fun again by adding that diversity. Because what that does is adds diversity in your gut microbiome.
So, and it brings the healthy bacteria.
Exactly.
As opposed to any kind of toxic inflammatory bacteria. And then it will help bind with the estrogen? Is that what it is?
Yeah. So the more diversity, it's almost like this is your defense system.
Okay.
Your gut immune system is your biggest defense system, your immune system. So I want an Air Force. I want a Navy. I want all different specialists protecting me. You're not going to win a battle just with an army. You need those, you need the Air Force guys. You need the Navy, right? So the more diverse your defense system is, the more resilient you will be.
Okay.
So diversity in the diet equals diversity in the gut bacteria.
Love it.
Equals multifaceted protection against all diseases, all adversities your body can potentially face.
That's so great to know because that is absolutely within our control.
Yes.
100%. Okay, as we're talking about this, I'm having a thought and a wonderment. Can you, what happens when, we all go through menopause? That's just inevitable. What happens when you have no estrogen left in your body?
Yes.
And what do you do about it?
Yeah. So what happens is...
And how do you know it's happening?
So this is something I talk about to women starting in their 30s.
Okay.
Another study that just came out actually mentioned and said, and this is something I strongly believe in, and finally it's validating me. Because a lot of other doctors think I'm crazy because I'm checking these things in 30-year-olds and they're like, why are you checking these levels in 30-year-olds? They're not 50. They're not going through menopause. This study said women aged 30 to 35, more than 50% of them are already experiencing moderate to severe perimenopausal symptoms.
I believe it. I believe it.
Right?
That's like night sweats.
It's common sense. It's reinforcing what we already know.
Yeah. I think I had night sweats maybe around that. Although I had my kids at 36 and 38, so that meant I was still, I did have 3 miscarriages though, I'll be honest. But, so anyhow, yes, I get it. Everything is happening younger. Everything.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
If puberty happens earlier, you're moving up the whole fertility cycle.
Right?
The whole timeline is moved up. So if I am still looking for menopause, talking about menopause only in when you're 55,
no,
I've missed 20 years.
Yep.
More than 20 years.
Totally.
25 years I've missed.
Totally buy it. Yep.
And what's happening during that time?
What is?
I'm getting more tired.
Yep.
I'm getting more frustrated with my body.
Yep.
My metabolism is slowing down, right?
Yep.
Now I'm not really doing much about it.
Because you don't know.
No.
What about bone density? Does that get
Bone
affected?
density, all of that. Exposure, like your risk for heart disease, for cancers, like everything is moving up. So
all because of the change in hormones. Wow. See, so at the age of 30, when you do your yearly check-in, you have to be checking your hormone levels. You have to. And watch the progression, right?
Yeah. And even before, every single day, like every single month, you should be tracking your cycles.
Yeah.
How does it feel?
Yeah.
Even subtle changes in your cycles can give you information about what's going on in your body.
Yeah, for sure.
So I cannot check hormone levels every 28 days, but I can check in with my body. How do I feel?
Yeah.
What was different this month? Why did my period come late?
Right.
What happened?
There's something going on.
Oh,
right.
I went through a breakup.
Right.
Right? It was a very stressful time for me.
Right. And
my period, I skipped my period. My period came later.
Yeah, because it's all connected.
It's all connected.
Yeah. Yep.
So these things are not separate. Oh, I was traveling internationally. That affected my cycle.
Totally.
Jet lag affects your cycle.
Yeah.
Right? Because my sleep was off. That affected my hormones. Right?
Yeah.
Or I wasn't eating properly this month.
Right. Weight can make it fluctuate too.
Weight can fluctuate.
Right?
Your metabolism changes. So why am I seeing so much more prediabetes, insulin resistance in women in their 30s? Right?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with weight. People think, oh, if you're overweight, then you have a high risk of diabetes. More than 50% of people who have insulin-resistant prediabetes have normal weight now.
So what's the deal? It's just sugar?
Hormones are changing.
Hormones.
So it's not just the food you're eating, it's how your body processes the food.
Right.
So this is coming back to Ayurveda. There's a saying which I strongly believe, and I wish everyone remembers this.
Okay.
Food, when it's metabolized properly, becomes nutrition. Food that is not metabolized properly becomes toxic and root cause of disease. Food is the same.
Yeah, but it's the processing. So and that's done in the gut microbiome.
Yes.
And that is affected greatly by hormones.
Hormones.
Wow.
Stress level, your sleep, like again, coming back to all those pillars, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So in our Western culture, we're so much on keto diet, paleo diet, vegan diet.
Yeah.
It does not matter.
Right.
Right? Why do some people lose 100 pounds on keto and some people end up in the ER with high cholesterol and heart attacks on keto?
Right.
Tell me why, right? Because one person's metabolizing the keto diet really well and they're losing 100 pounds feeling great.
Yeah.
The other person is not metabolizing. It's not a right fit for their metabolism.
For their body, right.
And their triglycerides and cholesterols are going up and clogging up their arteries.
Ew.
So that's why in Eastern medicine, there's no perfect diet.
No, it's individual.
And even for yourself, the diet that worked for you 2 years ago, before I had kids, the diet that worked for me is very different than the diet that's going to work for me right now.
That makes sense. It makes sense, doesn't it? It makes total sense.
So we have to come back to listening to our body.
Yeah.
What works? It's easier said than done. Don't listen to that noise, the fads that are out there. They're saying, let me put you in this box.
Right.
Because you determine your box. You're not going to be put into one.
No.
Because it's not going to work for you.
No.
It's just different.
No, it is. It really is. And that is, again, heartening. It's heartening to know that, again, doing our regular check-ins and knowing what your certain levels are and knowing and understanding that there is fluctuation and that that's okay and normal and that there's nothing wrong with you or wrong with that. You've mentioned Ayurveda a couple of times. Can you give us sort of just an overview of what Ayurveda is?
Yeah. So Ayurveda is traditional Indian medicine, very similar to Chinese medicine that goes back thousands of years.
Okay.
So the idea behind Ayurveda is just the way of life. So it's not necessarily medical. It's literally telling you how to live your life.
Okay.
It's the ultimate playbook for longevity. That's how I think about it.
That's cool.
So everything in there is really designed to help you live to at least 120.
Wow.
Because that's how they separate different phases of your life. So at least for 100, so they have different, there's 4 to 5 stages of life.
Right.
And it kind of walks you through what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
And it changes. Okay. Your diet, your lifestyle for each phase is different.
How long do the phases last?
Up to 120.
Wow. And each phase is?
It's about 20 to 25 years.
Okay.
The phases are telling you what you're supposed to do. So in your first phase, so when you're younger, you're supposed to eat a very different diet, very high calorie diet because your digestion's really strong.
Yep. And you're growing.
Right? Yeah. So whatever you eat can be metabolized really quickly. You're not building toxins. As we get older, one of the fundamental ideas in Ayurveda is that as we get older, our digestion tends to weaken. Our metabolism weakens.
Got it.
Right? So if our diet and lifestyle are not matching our metabolism, we're building toxins.
You're building toxins and you're gaining weight.
Yes.
Building toxins, gaining weight.
So because remember, food, or not just food, I always say it's not just food, it's your thoughts, your emotions.
Yes.
Everything, if not digested properly, becomes toxic.
Right.
We have to metabolize all of our emotions, experiences, traumas, food that we're eating.
Yep.
Everything needs to be processed. If it's not processed, if it's processed, it can become your armor, right? That becomes your strength.
Yeah.
That becomes your nutrition.
Yeah.
If it's not processed, that's what becomes disease, the toxin.
Yep.
So it's not about eating this food, that food. That's what the entire focus in Ayurveda is. How can I strengthen my metabolism? How can I strengthen my digestion, my microbiome?
Yep.
So no matter what toxins come my way, I can handle them.
And how can I strengthen my mind and my emotions?
State?
Where in the body physiology does that live? And how can I nurture and strengthen that?
Yeah.
That's big.
And that's why the fundamentals of Ayurveda is what am I doing on a daily basis? What am I doing on a seasonal or annual basis to take care of my body?
Yeah.
Right? What's the maintenance work that I have to do? So every single day there's this concept of something called dinacharya, which means daily routine.
Oh, okay, cool.
So one of the fundamental principles of prevention in Ayurveda is sticking to a routine.
Interesting. Right. Okay. And it doesn't have to be so complicated, does it?
No. Yeah. It's basically what it's saying in a fancy terminology, something called chronobiology.
Okay.
So what Ayurveda said thousands of years ago is listen to your body, stick to a routine, adapt to what's going on around you, right? Now we're saying, hey, it's chronobiology. Chrono means time in biology. We had this aha moment about 4 years ago.
Okay.
A few scientists won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for their work in this field called chronobiology.
Okay.
Which simply recognizing the fact that we are timed, we're clocks.
We are.
Right?
Yeah.
In 24 hours, every season, every decade, something is changing. So if our diet lifestyle matches that, a chronobiologist synchronized, we're healthy.
We just need to keep going. We need to understand that we are constantly moving and we're constantly going forward, evolving, and we need to match our actions and our intake accordingly.
Coming back to balance. So if I have a week of crazy work schedule, I'm traveling a lot, the week after, or at some point close enough, I need a week to balance that out.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Right?
Yep.
So I always joke about this. So, I put something on Instagram a few years ago about being in Italy and eating and drinking all this wine. So they're like, Dr. Parikh, what are you doing? You're eating gluten? And I'm like, yeah, like at least pre-kids and even with kids we manage. Every year we go to Italy.
Love it.
And my husband and I love the food there. Yep. Drink the wine, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's one of the highlights of our lives, right?
Great.
If I go to India, I'm eating all the street food.
Of course.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that.
Of course you are.
But what do I do? What people don't see and don't understand is what I do when I come back.
Right.
Right? So if I'm gone for a month, if I've gone for a week even, 2 weeks after I come back, I'm eating a very simple diet.
Yeah.
I'm not socializing. I'm not going out.
Right.
I'm getting my sleep. I'm making sure I recover from jet lag as soon as possible.
Yep.
I'm giving my body the time.
Yep.
Not eating pasta and wine when I come back. I'm eating a very, very simple diet.
Right.
Right? So I'm balancing the yin with the yang.
Yep.
So it is not about perfection. It's not about avoiding any of these things.
Right.
It's about allowing our body time to heal and recover from and metabolize all these toxins so we can bring our body back to balance and health.
And we can.
Always.
And we can. It's by being aware. Okay, so we're not helpless. Even if we're sick, we can make these changes daily to our gut microbiome by knowing what's going on and being aware of our hormone levels. So what would be the 3 things that you would say to our gals about hormones and your gut?
So first thing is learn your body.
Yeah.
Right? Track everything.
Yeah.
I'm shocked how many times I ask my patients about simple things like, how often do you poop?
Right.
What does your poop look like? I'm like,
they don't know.
No, don't know. Right?
Interesting.
Cycles.
Yeah.
I think they're regular.
Okay.
Right? We don't know. We don't track, right? I'm not talking about being obsessed about these things. It's about just checking in with your body and saying, how am I feeling this one?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And connecting dots about from how you're feeling to what's actually going on in the body.
Yeah.
Much earlier before it becomes a disease.
Right. Because you know, if something's changed, like if you poop every day at a certain time and then you're not anymore.
What happened?
What's going on?
So be an investigator. Be curious. Try to figure out what was it that I ate yesterday that I did not poop today.
Yeah.
Was it something I ate or, I didn't get enough sleep. Oh, I was running around and didn't drink enough water. Right. So like, what is it
something changed
that affects me?
Right. Perfect. That's great. I love that. Yes. Subtle differences, you said. That's awesome. Okay. Next one. You said focus on balance, not perfection.
Yes. Especially as women, we are always presented this picture of perfection that we have to chase.
Right.
Right.
Truth.
Whether it's a certain dress size, a skin color, hair,
everything.
Everything.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yes.
And I think that distills down to not just our physical perception of health, but also our emotions, our mental health. It's affecting all of us.
Yep.
So this idea of perfection is a myth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what we really should be emphasizing is the idea of balance. When we talk about balance, it allows us to be human. It allows us to be out of balance so we can bring our body back to balance.
Got it. And if you're out of balance for a minute, it's okay.
It's okay. That's life.
It's normal.
It's called life.
Yeah. Right.
Right?
Yes.
Life is not a straight line.
Yeah.
It's up and down.
Yep.
So recognizing when you're up, recognizing when you're down, and giving ourselves the tool and the grace to come back to baseline.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's always going to be this up and down.
I love that.
Right.
And the concept that you said before too, that baseline changes too.
Always
it's not the same thing as we continue to evolve and grow and perfect and all of it that happens. It's your baseline, understanding what your baseline is, right?
And that's my third point, is you are always in control.
Yeah.
As much as we feel like the hormones control us, no, everything we're doing is controlling the hormones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we're just finally aware of the superpower that we have.
Yes. Yes.
So hormones are key. You have the power to be the most emotionally intelligent.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
If you tap into your hormones.
Yes.
It's a superpower.
It's a superpower. And why wouldn't we want to know the most about this versus anything else?
Yes.
Right? I mean, this is what's taking us through this whole experience, isn't it?
It
is this.
And it's amazing because we can look at every hormonal life event as a woman as a step back or a massive leap forward.
Oh, I love that.
Right? Here I am, 2 months postpartum, not having slept, right? But I have so much appreciation for my body, what it's capable of.
That's beautiful.
Right? And I'm like, why am I sweating the small stuff? I went through all of this, sleepless nights and a major surgery.
Yes.
And bringing life into this world.
You're a person. It's the coolest thing.
And am I really stressing over something silly like this?
Yeah.
I'm capable of incredible things, right?
That's beautiful.
And hormones are a way that made it happen. Right? So instead of focusing on the negative, I'm a few pounds overweight, I am emotional, I'm tired.
Yeah.
So I can choose to focus on those things.
Right.
Or I can say, my body's now capable of doing X, Y, Z. It just did this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
How I experience emotions, my brain has rewired, my metabolism has rewired, right? So it's like, I'm so lucky I have those 5 pounds on me because my ancestors did not have that luxury.
Right.
Right?
Right.
This is a huge lottery in the terms of evolution to be able to have this extra weight to support my well-being and my child.
And your child's. Oh, that's so beautiful.
Right? There are plenty of people in this world right now who don't.
Yep.
Their kids starving, mothers who are starving literally.
Yep.
So this is a blessing for me to be able to nurture and support my body.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, extra 5 pounds. Oh my God, I have this reserve.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
That is going to allow me to be resilient, to get through the sleepless nights, get through all this emotional up and down, right? So how we talk to ourselves about our hormonal health, that dialogue, if we fundamentally change it, it can be our ultimate superpower.
That is, okay. That's sort of the bottom line is right there. Is understanding it, appreciating it, becoming aware of it, just recognizing that it is a power.
Yeah, and that you are always in control.
I love it. Oh my gosh, again, thank you so much for being here and for sharing all of your knowledge and wisdom. Let's figure out our next topic and let's do it again.
I'm so excited. But thank you for taking the time to talk about these important topics that don't necessarily get enough attention. Yeah. So thank you for giving it a voice.
Such a pleasure. Thanks for coming. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Inside the Wellspace. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.